my understanding is that the edibles process through the liver.
Well, it has to process through the liver.
And
Exactly.
back to the brain.
Exactly.
It's a different high.
Yeah.
You can literally
whereas
take
vaping
an
goes
edible.
straight to your brain.
Right. Instantly. You said
Right.
5 to 10 minutes. I'd say 5 to 10 seconds. In some cases.
Actually, edibles.
So, I started taking the CBD oil and only took it for a few days.
Mhm.
I remember my experience was after that, it became a stimulant, and
Right.
it was not letting me sleep.
Mhm.
So I had to actually stop. So why is that the case? You know, it sounds similar to what's happening with him sometimes.
Right.
Maybe it does have to do with mood, but at that point, it didn't make a difference. I really had to be careful, so I had to stop because I was the same thing. I was like wide awake. I may drop off for an hour or two, and then it was over. Then I was up the rest of the night.
And you were taking the gel caps or
Taking the gel
tincture?
caps.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I had to stop. It's like, well, that's not what I wanted.
I've read, did you adjust dosage? Did you try?
Well, no, I've never taken more than one.
Generally speaking, what I've read about the CBD, again, we gotta pull this away from the THC scenario, is initially it can act as a stimulant, and with further use it becomes a sedative. Or at lower dose it's a stimulant, at higher dose it's a sedative. So you might try a higher dose. I mean, that's tough when you can't sleep and you're like, do I wanna take more of this? You know what I mean? But the two things I've heard is initially it can be a stimulant for people, and then with further use it becomes a sedative, and here's the story with, we don't just know, we don't know a lot of this, is a lower dose that acts as a stimulant, and a higher dose acts more as a sedative.
I mean, to your point, I've been experimenting for 18 months now with various surgeries, and I've just found it to be inconsistent. Same brand, same strain, same
Right.
delivery, and I'll get 4 good nights sleep, and I can go, wow, that helped, that worked. I really got tired and I slept. And then for no apparent reason, the 5th night, same product, same time, I'm wired. It's like I'm on cocaine. I'm like walking around and around the whole night till 8 in the morning, and then a couple days later it'll work just fine. So this guy I'm talking to with the suppositories, who has a couple dozen clients,
Mhm.
said that for most people they're getting tremendous benefit with sleep and pain.
Mhm.
He has 2 clients happen to be female, I don't know what that means, who have the effect that you're talking about and I'm talking about, where they
Right.
just get super high.
Hmm. Yeah, and you wonder, like, in your situation, Jeff, is,
Yes, the inconsistency, that's
yeah,
crazy.
and are you noticeably different in mood or mindset in the different nights, I wonder about that.
Maybe, I don't,
But that seems like a dramatic difference just
Yeah, it's
based
like
on mood
from one to
difference.
the other, and from
Right.
one night to the other.
Right.
And this guy says he's getting some feedback like that. It's a lower percentage of people,
Yeah,
but
even with the suppositories,
yeah, he
yeah.
just said these two women
Mhm.
just get totally, they hate it. They get, they can't sleep at all. They get
So
totally high.
the moral of this story is always have a joint ready.
You keep coming back to that.
Well, for me personally, it works the best for sleeping.
And joint meaning flower.
Yes,
But what?
I have to smoke it in order to make it work.
But how much TCH and CBD is in that flower?
I don't know.
Because they all vary.
You don't know.
Yeah,
right?
I don't
And
know.
the problem with flower is it's guaranteed to be inconsistent.
You're talking about buds. You're talking
Buds,
about,
yeah.
I just smoke until I'm ready to fall asleep. And some nights I have to smoke a whole lot more than other nights,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure what the difference is. I haven't paid attention.
Mhm.
Maybe I'm madder the days when it doesn't work, or I'm not sure.
No, it's good segue, because that is kind of what I want to talk about as far as, we can talk about dosing forever and we can talk about examples, but we just simply don't know at this point. It
Yeah.
really is a trial and error. Good news being that these type of products, A, you can't overdose. B, symptom resolution aside, there's really some exciting science coming up about taking CBD as a supplement simply as a health supplement for longevity, neuroprotection. There's some really interesting, in fact, this is worth me talking a little bit about how it works in the endocannabinoid system. It works through something called retrograde transmission. I didn't talk about this earlier, did I? Okay. If you think about a nerve signal passing downstream, so a pain sensory signal from the periphery up into the brain, okay? It's in one direction. Retrograde transmission, the analogy, we always use analogies when we talk about human physiology, right? It's the only way we can understand things. Think about a river running downstream. Retrograde transmission is swimming against the stream, okay? And the way I think about is if you're in pain or you've got anxiety, let's just use those two, that it's like there's been a storm around that river, and now you've got debris in that stream, right? Sticks and leaves and mud and all that shit coming downstream. CBD seems to work through retrograde transmission, swimming upstream, cleaning all that up, okay? So, that's an interesting physiological phenomenon, how this stuff works against the stream of neuronal signal, okay? I just think that's a nice analogy to kind of understand how this works, and I can't remember why I started that analogy.
I mean, to add on to what you're saying, Steve,
Yeah.
what I did find with CBD, it's definitely anti-inflammatory. And for
Right. And that's, thank you,
for
yeah,
a
yeah.
year
So-
when I was having
Yeah.
physical therapy on the shoulder, I got in a pickle because, and that's how I started with this whole thing.
Right.
I couldn't, my injury was quite severe, and I couldn't tolerate the physical therapy. It was just too painful.
Mm-hmm.
And the physical therapist just kept saying, if you can't tolerate pain and relax, I can't fix you. You're gonna freeze up. And once I started to take the CBD, the physical therapy started to be effective because I could.
Yeah, and thank you, because so you tied
It's
those two
huge.
thoughts
It's
together.
really
That-
significant.
That
Yeah.
against stream swimming
Right.
is antioxidant, anti-inflammatory,
Will that anti-inflammatory reduce arthritis kind of
There's
things?
tremendous amount of studies being put towards
Yes.
arthritis for sure.
Oh.
When you talk about the ECS, endocannabinoid system, it's ubiquitous in our body, except for our respiratory system. It's perfect when you think about a far-reaching global potential therapeutic medicine. So joint receptors, receptors within the joints, yes, absolutely. So it can modulate arthritis.
If ingested or whatever,
You know, I think
any
probably.
way you use it?
I think this is where we're able to be
Yeah.
creative. You know, when I think of arthritis, I think of topical plus ingestion, you know, plus vaping. When I think about people that have sleep issues, I've got patients that can't get to sleep,
Yeah.
and I've got patients that can't stay
Stay
asleep,
asleep,
right?
yeah.
So, on a very rudimentary level, I say, well, if you can't get to sleep, try a tincture. If you can't stay asleep,
Take some more.
take the gel cap, you know, which is longer, or
Or
take
get up
both.
during the night and do it again.
So,
Smoke a
so,
joint.
so
Right.
to your point, when I was having physical therapy, I found that vaping every few hours or whatever when I was in severe pain helped. But then in addition to that, I used the topical TCP CBD
Yeah.
combos,
Mhm.
and there's a whole array of them. In my opinion, most of which don't work at all, but some are really effective.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So which
that's-
ones are those?
Exactly.
I can tell you that if you want.
I don't, thank goodness, I
Uh,
don't ever have pain.
And the
So,
only thing
yeah.
with that though is, it's cream or whatever it is,
Yeah.
maybe lasts 20 minutes.
And you have to.
And you can
Really?
literally feel the relief, and when I was having painful physical therapy, I could tolerate the therapy, and then after 20 minutes, if it went longer than that, I had to put cream on again to just get
Oh,
through the
okay.
next 20 minutes.
Yeah, the human skin, the way it is, and the way the receptors work in
I
our
need to
dermis,
get
it's, you have to use a lot.
And where is
Right.
The
it?
topical, you gotta glom on,
Yeah.
glom on.
Yeah, and it seems to be very short, it's
Yeah.
great, but it's short acting.
So that's why topical backed up with ingested, is probably a creative way to start. It depends on what your symptoms are, if
Yep.
that's your pain issue, and you have a specific pain.
Yeah, if you gotta fix the pain now, cause you gotta do something, drive your car or whatever,
Well,
the cream
there's-
is great, but it just doesn't last very long.
Well, there's pain all over the body, that some people have all over the place, and then there's localized pain. I have this injury or this irritated area. So if you buy this cream, and where do you get it? Does it only lasts 20 minutes? It doesn't sort of act like an anti-inflammatory, which builds up like fish oil or something like that.
Yeah, it's probably acting as a short-acting local anti-inflammatory a little bit, but again, because of the nature of our skin and all, it is a reapplication on a regular basis. But if you back that up with an oral, that may be a creative way to do it.
But can this prevent sleep? So you don't take it at night, then what he said.
Most people don't. I'll just say, at least empirically here, in the hundreds of people that we've walked out of here with CBD for, sleep, it's rare that someone can't sleep.
Right.
That's a rare occurrence. So it's, again, this is trial and error.
Well, I'm looking for pain, I'm not looking for, I sleep
Right.
fine. But
So I would say that probably your chances are that it may be effective for your pain without sacrificing sleep.
Yeah.
But there's only one way to find out.
So you do capsules here, and what's the other, and then the
Tincture.
other one, tincture, under the tongue?
Under the tongue, sublingual, yeah.
Just anecdotally, I've tried the capsules and the tincture,
Mhm.
and I find the capsules not very efficacious.
Mhm.
Yeah, they
Take-
should be.
You like the
Just-
tincture better?
But the tincture works.
Yeah,
It really
it
does
does.
work. The problem with the tincture is, that I find, is you don't know when it's gonna work. 'Cause it's going through your digestive system, and
Right.
sometimes it works after an hour, and sometimes it only works after 6 hours. For me, anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, well, anything that goes through the
Yeah,
digestive system.
I was just gonna say, so you're basically saying then the CBD oil or the cannabinoids, they're acting in a manner that cleans up the neurological chatter.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have too much neurological chatter, then it's gonna be hard for you to go ahead and reduce the inflammation in your body.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I'm just,
Yeah.
that's what, that,
So, okay, so yeah, now you're leading us into an area that, so your endocannabinoid system, from within. I remember a bunch of years ago, I read that when they discovered and isolated the cannabinoid molecule, it was basically identical, the phytocannabinoid from a plant was identical to the endocannabinoid produced in our brain. And I said, every stoner in the world is going to celebrate this. And they're all going to say, see?
Yes.
There's the one molecule that crosses the plant and animal kingdom is a cannabinoid. Bizarre, right? But if you're, and I think going back to the dosage and different experiences we're having, probably what we have to look at is what's the tone of your ECS? And if your ECS is in a certain tone, and you dump some exogenous cannabinoids on that, whatever that tone is, you may stay up all night, or you may, you know what I mean? So it's kind of knowing what your tone is, and unfortunately, that's you can't feel if your thymus is working right. It's like trying to feel how your ECS is working right, and that's why the last thing I wanted to say with this is, personally, what I've discovered is if I do combine it with meditation, you do have some effect on the tone, at least of your nervous system, when it comes to anxiety and pain, for that matter. So I'll do like a sublingual. For me, sublingual is not inconsistent. For me, it's pretty quick. I'll do a sublingual and then go into meditation. And if it's pain, I don't know how much you guys want to talk about meditation, but it's like, the meditation you're doing is you're changing your relationship to that pain. You see if, at least for the brief moment that you're doing that work, you're experiencing the sensation and trying to remove everything that's related to that sensation. The discomfort, the pain, the holy shit, is this ever going to get better? All the stuff that we tend to add to an experience of sensation. When it comes to anxiety, this is where it really helps me, is I'll just go into my meditation, or I'll go into, basically I'll even go down into Shavasana, right, corpse pose, completely unweight your body, that brings that chatter down just by position, settle into a meditation, right? You know, you guys understand the mechanics of meditation at least, right? Just bring awareness into your thoughts bring awareness into your body, try to drop all the shit associated with that, and bring that chatter down through that active meditation process. And here's the situation where now maybe we're looking at a supplement that is going to enhance that experience and maybe help us figure out where our dosing goes, because at least we're not completely passive. It's not like taking vitamin C and hope you don't get sick next time a cold gets around. It's completely passive. And with you know, these products, if we're taking it completely passive, we don't know, we've all shared, we kind of don't know where this is going. But I wonder how much control, it's a tough word, I don't like to use that so much, but influence we might have on our response to this particular product, because it lands in the same neuronal spaces as what we're trying to do when we're managing our nervous system through meditation.
Steve, if I can comment on that,
Please.
I've been meditating for years and I do yoga for years.
Yeah.
And there's no question that if you can use the product in conjunction with meditation, it helps a lot.
Right.
Having said that, I found that works when I wasn't in extreme pain.
Extreme pain
Well, I
blows it
didn't
up,
have
yeah.
extreme
Yeah.
insomnia.
Yeah.
And after my surgery, and I thought, okay, great, I'm just gonna, I wanna get
Right.
off the opioids and I'm just gonna meditate. And
Right.
That doesn't work. It's like, it's
And
not,
it's-
Well,
the
now it's-
pain is so overwhelming.
Yeah.
So isn't
That
that a
was-
situation where you can supplement the opioids with it, you know? I mean, are you still taking?
No, I hate
Completely,
opioids.
you just
and
hate it.
I
Yeah.
I took them for a couple days after the surgery where it was
If-
unbearable.
If
And
you're
then I
a
went,
monk,
oh,
you could probably meditate sufficiently to get rid of your pain.
well,
but
to
you're not
give you an
capable.
example, when I had surgery on the shoulder, I stopped taking opioids after 48 hours because
Right.
they had the opposite effect on me. And
In what
that's
sense? More pain or
they didn't help the pain, and I became manic.
manic? Yeah.
Couldn't sleep, and I was like running around,
Yeah.
couldn't sleep at night. And that's what got me into marijuana and CBD and everything else. And it definitely helps. But with strong pain or with really, when you just absolutely can't sleep, and maybe my meditation is just wussy and not that powerful.
Well,
So
that's it.
I don't
think
know
it
that.
weighs-
I don't think I'm that good at meditating.
I think if
although
you
do.
could go into a hypnotic state, you could probably get rid of anything.
Maybe.
The kids that have surgery with
Yeah.
hypnosis,
Maybe.
so.
Not probably, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
I think
But a
meditation-
year after my surgery, when I had just very low levels of pain
Then
and
that-
low
that's
levels
narrow,
of
yeah.
sleep, then taking the CBD and meditating is definitely a powerful combination.
Yeah. Now, honestly, Jeff, in this scenario here, the patients I see, you're in an extreme situation, especially post shoulder replacement. That's
Yeah.
just gruesome. The highest level of pain we usually get in here is, a hot disc. Which is exquisitely strong pain.
Right.
You know what I mean? And yeah, sometimes, I don't have an answer other than
No, when your pain's 25 out of 10.
exactly.
Yeah, I do think though that meditation is a good supplement
Mm-hmm.
with all of it. And a nice way for me to get into meditation is definitely with THC.
Yeah.
Because I'm always up
Oh, yeah.
here and it brings me down to a level where I could even think about meditating.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree. I have the
And
same sense.
for me, Zen works the best because my eyes aren't closed and I'm not seeing things.
Right.
I'm just completely trying to empty the space.
Yeah.
But it works much better with THC for me.
For sure, I agree
Yeah.
with you. I would say that the deepest calming meditation I can do with supplementing with, honestly, THC
Yeah.
/CBD.
I can make myself then go down to one thought instead of 50
Oh, yeah.
all at the same time.
At
Yeah.
least 50, right?
Yeah.
But and we've talked about this a little bit, is corpse pose. It's an amazing, if sitting in meditation is a powerful thing, and there's a number of things you can do with that. Sometimes I'll sit and not move a muscle. That's part of my meditation you talk about exquisite pain, remarkably, just sitting still for 15 minutes can get excruciatingly painful, right?
Yes.
But you meditate on the fact that you're not damaging your body, and as soon as I get out of this position, my knees or back will shut up. That's actually an interesting because you start to really practice calming your mind in what really can be exquisite pain. Try it. Try sitting in cross-legged position and not move a muscle for 15 minutes. Your body's going to be screaming, right? But sometimes you get out of that situation, go corpse, where there's no resistance in your body whatsoever,
Yeah.
and just melt into that floor. Get into your active meditation, Zen, or mindfulness meditation, basically.
Yes.
Where you start just, your mind is a mirror. You bring your awareness into your breath, and you bring your awareness into your body, and you just scan your body. And I can get quiet enough, and it does help with THC/CBD, where I can start to sense the link of thought and where that lands as tension in my body. You know what I mean? So, because you become so quiet in mind and so rested in your body that you start to feel the mechanism of thinking landing as stress in your body. And that's not remote from what we've been talking about with the CBD stuff, because it's the same neural pathway. Thoughts are matter in your head. There's a neural pathway going on. We talk about neuroplasticity. You think what you are, right? Mm-hmm. So you just keep grooving a new pattern. And I think what I've discovered with this particular supplement, it's a direct supplement to that process, which is kind of cool.
How is this better than, good, fish oils and things like that? I got one from Larry, what's his name, the talk show host. He's advertising it, so I got that one. The old talk show host, Larry King, and right, and so he advertises the infomercial, so I decided to buy it. Well, of course, they don't give you enough. They give you 60 pills, and they say to start out with 4 a day. Well, that's 2 weeks, and so it won't take effect till 30 days. Well, whatever. All right, so I'm doing it. I don't know if it helps like with the irritated area, but what's the difference between something like that and this stuff? They're both anti-inflammatories, you're saying.
Well, there's a lot of anti-inflammatories out there, right? But it's
turmeric.
Sure, yeah. It's targeting an entirely different pathway as far as where this is actually acting almost as a neurotransmitter. Fish oil isn't, so it's just a different mechanism.
What does it do, the fish oil?
I would question how well fish oil is going to directly help you with pain, honestly.
I use both. I use fish oils, and I use the CBD oil, and that's a major difference. The fish oil, I took them for like almost 2 months, and I felt a slight difference. But when I took the CBD, specifically the pain cream, instantaneously. So my knees are arthritic, and I would use that immediately. As far as the oil, it would take me a couple of days, and I would kind of like, when I wake up, my knees feel like Rice Krispies.
Right.
Wake up, it's not after a couple of days, I noticed I get up, and it just wasn't happening nearly as much.
Which one of these do you take?
I take oil.
Tablet or
the tincture?
Oh, tincture.
And keep in mind, by the way, a CBD, that's not pure CBD. You still have to have it. So it's usually medium chain triglyceride oil, like coconut oil or something like that. Full on straight CBD oil is actually, I think it'll be toxic as a topical. You still have to have a carrier oil with it. So, medium chain, you're getting the omegas that you get in the fish oil anyway. So you're probably getting both benefits, right? And
this doesn't make you high, this one?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately not.
No.
Is there any that do? Because I started buying CBD pain cream for my grandmother for her hip, and I noticed that some of them had different variations of THC in it. But I smoke pot, but whenever I tried it, I never felt anything. So, as far as getting high or anything like that,
I can sometimes get a tiny little background buzz if I do like a huge dose.
okay.
I don't know. It may be placebo. Who knows? The other thing is you have to, because this is so wide open, you often don't know what you're actually getting. You know, you could get some nefarious brand that's touting it CBD and it's got a shitload of THC in it.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
you know.
What's that one that Maureen?
Oh God. Yeah, try this. It's got no THC. I'm like, oh, halfway through work, I'm like, uh-oh.
I've tried like probably 7 or 8 different brands.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly why. Like, you see the label and you see what's going on there. Like, what is this thing? It doesn't
Right.
really give you much information.
Oh, so for pain, you're looking for less THC?
You know, it depends on which pain. Like neuropathic pain,
Yeah.
THC tends to work better than
Okay.
CBD, right?
I'm not, actually, mine is strictly for fun or for sleeping.
Right.
I don't
Right.
have pain.
Right. Good. Congratulations.
Well, you know,
if I
a
can
little
jump in,
knee pain, but-
the problem you're talking about is a huge problem at the moment, and that is,
Yeah.
irrespective of what product you want, the whole system in California is a mess,
It's a mess.
to say the least. And this person that's designed the system is trying to create a perfect system, and in so doing has created a really imperfect system. So one of the problems at the moment, and I have a bunch of friends who are in the business, from growers to
Mhm.
producers or whatever, is as of June everything had to be lab tested, which is great. So that it is, if it says 75% CBD or whatever it is, whatever,
Yes.
so many grams, 80% of all the submissions to the labs are failing because
Right.
the lab test doesn't comply with what the labeling is. The problem with that is that, and there's an acute shortage of labs. There's only 10 labs in California. There needs to be about 100.
There's a business like
And because the labs are really expensive to set up, you can't get funding from the banks because it's federally illegal.
Right.
Yes.
You have to get private funding. It costs millions of dollars to set up a lab. So there's not enough labs.
Right.
I have lots of friends who are in the business, and they're getting their product back from the labs to say, oh, you said it was 75% whatever, and it's 68%, so it's failed.
So they have to go through the whole process.
And then they either have to relabel it or destroy the product. The net effect of that is there's an acute shortage of product. There's no shortage of growers, producers, processors, everything else. They can't get their product to market because of the lab problem.
Isn't the medical stuff legal, so why can't they start getting more?
It's legal, but it has to be labeled accurately
Right.
as to
That's
what
no-
percentage of
Oh.
CBD, what percentage of TCH, what
Well,
other
that,
components.
since it's legal, that
And-
should, you know, they should be
it-
starting building more labs.
It's not that
Yes.
easy to control. One of my friends
Oh.
is a grower in Santa Barbara. He's a UCLA doctorate graduate. And he lives in the hothouse where they grow this stuff. And him and his buddy walk around 24/7, picking off buds, picking off black bugs off the plants. If they didn't do that, that same plant would produce a different outcome. And nobody would know it.
Right.
That may or may not be picked up by the lab. So it's really, because you're dealing with a plant, a live thing,
Exactly.
it's in the environment.
Once it
So it's
becomes,
really hard to
yeah.
control what you're
What's the
actually
black
getting.
I
No,
think
just
once
bugs,
it becomes
just,
federally legal, then
pests.
the government
Yeah.
would invest in labs.
Right.
But it's not federally legal, so the government can't build
No, I've
as
looked
many
into that
labs.
really a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah.
because I wanted to go into that business.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell,
Me
I'll
too.
invest in a new lab.
Okay?
Yeah.
I think they
But
need to do this
we, I mean,
artificially.
We have to wait for federal.
Well, they're doing
legalization.
CBD
Yeah.
artificially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think that's gonna do a disservice to the whole
I agree.
thing, because firstly, without the TCP, it's not gonna be that effective, and then everybody's gonna go, oh, I tried the tablets and my daughter still got the same amount of seizures.
Right.
And it didn't really help,
Yeah.
because it's,
Well, see, even that conversation you haven't, like, there's a lot of controversy on whether CBD only works, or do you need,
That's
you
the
need the
controversy.
entourage effect
Right.
of THC,
right.
right, which is, there's a long way to go with all this. you know?
Now,
Keep
where's
talking
this-
the TCP.
Where can you sell it? Like, okay, for example, CBD, if, I don't know, what would be the difference between selling that and selling like Flexol or Bengay? So is there like regulation on where you can have it?
That's a good question. And actually, because let's see if I get this right, because this came into the news last week. Because it's not regulated, even selling CBD is actually technically illegal, right, in the state of
Federally.
California.
Federally,
No,
yeah.
California.
Oh, no kidding?
Yeah, so this is actually illegal, in the state of California.
The
Okay?
CBD oil?
Yeah,
So
How
even though it's
weird
legal
is
here,
that?
it's actually still illegal, alright?
and it's a quirk in the law. The state of California, if I remember correctly, it really has to focus on THC. And just because this hasn't been regulated yet, it's unlawful.
I
But
don't
then
think
nothing-
that's 100% correct, Steve, so.
Yeah, clean
my-
that up a little bit, Jim,
My,
if you
my
can.
understanding is whether it's TCH or CBD or whatever combination or whatever product, it's legal to buy it from a legal dispensary.
Yes.
And,
Right.
you know, that's a
From
whole
any
nother
other
problem,
source,
and
yeah.
that whole industry is in a mess right now because of all these regulations. But it's totally legal to buy any form of CBD or TCH or any combination of that through a dispensary.
Yes,
If they're legal.
yes.
And that's easy, I mean, you know, if you guys wanna know about that, that's easy, you can,
Oh, no,
there's
no.
dispensaries you can just go
Yeah.
into,
Mhm.
and then others who want the medical certificate, and that's a BS thing that costs you $30 that you can get.
So you can only get it
$100 a
through
year.
Oh,
It
I
Or
used to
here.
be.
I pay 30.
No,
With CBD, yeah.
Like, and I asked because, like, for example, like for my grandmother, which is the reason I first started this, she would have no part of going to a dispensary, and she's not gonna have it like that. So I had to go get it for her. And so then I started getting it for my family, and they said, well, where do you get this? Where around here can we get this?
Mhm.
And that's how I started getting involved with that, because it's a question that I come across a lot. Like, okay, well, if I get it in a dispensary, everyone assumes weed, and if they're uneducated about it,
Right.
like, why are you giving me a weed product? So it's kinda hard to convince them that it's
So-
not weed,
Right.
if they're getting it at a weed dispensary.
Dispensary,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, so the solution to your grandmother, and I have friends and family with the same problem, is to get it delivered. But that's another controversy in California right now, so, right now it's legal to pick up the phone to MedMan
Right,
and say, I want my bud or whatever,
Yes.
and they'll come to your house and they'll deliver it, and you
Yes.
pay them
Right.
cash. And,
Right.
and now there's this, it's legal to do that, and it's legal under California law, but under California law, each city
right.
has
Has
the
a
right
different
not
law.
only to decide if they want dispensaries in their neighborhood, but if they want deliveries in their neighborhood.
Right.
So Manhattan Beach can decide, we don't want marijuana deliveries in our neighborhood. There's now a whole bunch of court cases to say they don't have a right to decide that, because the law says, because the police are saying, we can't enforce that. How do we know
Yeah.
some kid is driving in his car to your house
Yeah.
and, you know, to deliver, we can't control that, so we can't enforce it, so it's, you can't stop it. So the answer to your question is,
They'll put
have your
one of those
grandmother get a
leaves on top
delivery.
like they do for the
Yeah,
beaches.
it'll be a big leaf.
I think home delivery is gonna be the future.
That's nice. I'm
Because
the,
I think
I'm the
the-
grandmother that goes to the dispensary, cause I wanna see what's out.
Right. It's fun, it's a fun experience.
It is. Have you been to Cookies?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Where's that at?
Where is that?
Well, I know
It's
there's one in
way
my
the
neighborhood.
hell out and gone.
Yeah, well, I live there.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in the eastern part of LA,
Mhm.
so I live by the 710 freeway, and there's one on Slauson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who owns that? A rapper?
Yeah, so I didn't know. I thought it was a
Yeah.
shave, but apparently a rap artist
Yeah.
is a.
Oh, it's,
Just
it is
add
an
to all the
amazing-
confusion in this whole
it's
world,
high
right?
class.
Yeah,
It's
see, like
just-
something
really
like
high
that doesn't help
class.
the situation with there. Yeah.
yeah.
Be interesting to see where this all goes. But for me here, it syncs
Good
up
place
with
to-
a lot of stuff I treat in here, you
Oh,
know, pain, physical pain. I just read a study, Kent, you'd be interested in this, with topical CBD on connective tissue disorders and modulating fibroblastic activity at focal areas of adhesion. Like people, so using it in conjunction with the tissue work, they don't actually know how the mechanism works, but it's interesting. I mean,
Is the
there's
topic,
nothing left undone.
is the topical kind different? Or could you just take your oil and
Yeah.
smear it?
I think you'd probably just take your oil and smear it.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
Maybe you'd want a little bit of a coconut oil or some lotion to
So
get better.
that oil, or are you talking about your stuff that you get done?
Well, what I read about was specifically CBD, right? Yeah, not the other stuff.
does it actually stop the pain, or does it make it just more tolerable?
I would say that the latter is probably a more accurate
Yeah.
answer.
I think it's just like a local anesthetic.
That's
Yeah.
what I found.
It just kinda numbs
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah,
area you
yeah.
put it
It
on
makes
for,
it
for 10, 20
Less
minutes.
annoying, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, I don't know if you have a pain here, but, I started getting it from this company and it had menthol in it, so it get really hot.
Mhm.
And so when you put it in your skin, so like if you, like I put it on my knee and it felt really good, but the first time I did it, I didn't pay attention, I didn't wash my hands, and then I
Oh,
started
yeah.
touching my face,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, it
then
gets
my
in
face
your
started
eyes.
burning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On your eyes.
Well, I am sure that's coming down the road. I'm sure they're gonna start combining it with turmeric and all sorts
Yeah.
of stuff, and, we'll see where this goes.
Does turmeric say being it's a blood thinner, if you're not on blood thinners? Cause I got a flu shot and she said, I was taking turmeric and she said, oh, it's not stopping, it took a little bit to stop my blood, the bleeding from the flu shot. Because I was taking, and I thought, oh, cause I'm taking turmeric, pills, and I tried that from Sprouts or somewhere, yeah, or Mother's, I don't know. But, yeah, is that bad, that blood thinning, is that bad, to have that?
Depending on how you come in, I mean, it depends on what your particular situation is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm normal, I'm not
Yeah.
taking anything.
I
yeah.
can't imagine that one turmeric pill would cause any disturbance.
No, it's every day, you take it, it builds up,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
blood,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
but even
blood
that-
was
But
thin.
even
Yeah.
then, I made a deal with the doctor when I had pneumonia, and they wanted to give me all kinds of drugs, and I made her a deal. I said, okay, if I take a triple amount of turmeric, will you deal with it? I got to do that, and that took care of it, rather than having to take their meds.
Mhm.
And there is no bleeding or, I
Well,
don't
it
think so.
thins your blood, it does thin your blood, so, I don't know by how much, but, yeah, I had
Probably
a shot,
comes
that
out.
didn't, was a little hard to stop, more than usual.
I'm ready to go back to work.
Bummer.
Helpful, useful, useful at all?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
yes.
Okay. Good. It's like I said, it's, inchoate is a good word. We're just in the nascent, beginnings of understanding all this. Jeff's done, so pleased you showed up. You've done a lot of research, so your additions were great. I've got to start to wrap it up because we got work, we got patients going again. Questions?
Yes.
So you got any questions?
Yeah, just give, what's your contact
No.
information and what you wanna know.
It's THC, there's no TCP, people just saying something wrong? What is TCP? I've heard THC and I've heard TCP.
THC.
Yeah.
We're talking about THC,
Yeah, so that's not right.
the active ingredient of marijuana. One of the, more prominent.
That makes you high.
Yes.
One of the crazy things about marijuana,
Mhm.
most FDA-approved drugs that we all know of have one or two active ingredients. And that's what our whole science community and scientists are geared around.
Exactly.
Marijuana, in its bud form, has 136
Right.
active ingredients.
It's one of the most complex plants on this earth.
Yes,
It
and we've
absolutely
only
is,
just,
yeah.
it's been illegal to study it in the
Right.
United States. And that's why the research that's going on in Israel
Right.
is very advanced
Right.
and really interesting. And I can give you more information
No,
on
it is.
that as well.
There's a lot, pay attention to stuff coming out of Israel.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an amazingly complex plant. It's just a
Our
fascinating.
science is not even geared to deal with something so complex.
Maybe.
Right.
And that's the biggest problem I've had with, you find something that helps you sleep, and it's, brand XYZ, and it's strain ABC, and you vape it, and then that brand goes out of business because of the
Yes.
lab problems or whatever, and then you go get the same strain
And it's
from
different,
brand, and it's a totally different effect, and
Yeah.
it could be
Mhm.
20 different compounds that are, because they only, under California law, they're only required to list the 3 main compounds, and then there's another 130 something.
There is,
Your
with
vines
smoking,
and
it
all.
depends on where it comes from. There is an occasional
Depends on how it's grown.
paranoia
You know,
in
these,
there.
these little
Yeah.
insects that get on it
Yeah,
can affect the outcome of the actual product.
yes.
Contraindications, side effects, things like that. We didn't talk about any of that. You did ask about blood thin, but low blood pressure, it tends to reduce blood pressure, so if you have low blood pressure, it's something to consider not. That's sort of the only direct contraindication. It does, in your liver, if you ingest it, it acts with enzyme P450, which is the main enzyme that breaks down pharmacological drugs. So if you're taking medication, it's probably worth just investigating if a product like this will interfere with that. I read another study that's pretty.
But if you wanna.
Good
Yeah.
question. Ask your doctor, he'll have no idea.
But if you wanna clean out all the
pharmacist.
pharmaceuticals,
How about that?
then
Right.
that would be wonderful, wouldn't it?
We have a plant that has 135 probably mostly useful substances within it. But yeah, it's, you know, it's interesting when you, another study I read, that, you know, the chronic use of NSAIDs, you know, really tears apart your stomach lining. Studies have shown that these CBD THC products actually helps mitigate that effect. So when you, like, I'm not opposed to, in a situation where someone's got exquisite pain, use what's out there, even when it comes to pharmacology. Now, you didn't like the opioids because it just messed with you. Great. But sometimes, you know,
No, you have no choice.
You have no choice,
I mean,
right?
When pain's unbearable, it's
Right.
Yeah.
unbearable.
Exactly.
And for short time use, it's okay, really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What about Alzheimer's? Does this pot stuff cause Alzheimer's or dementia later in
Actually,
life?
quite the opposite. I mean, when I talked about it earlier, I think right now the thing that most excites me about this is not the symptom resolution of pain or anxiety or whatnot. It's the potential powerful neuroprotective benefit. You know, so.
I mean, it's supposedly helping a lot of people with seizures, and
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's early
Kids.
days, and they've only done the study on kids,
Mhm.
and they've only done the study on extreme
Right.
kids who have maybe hundreds of seizures a day.
Right.
And with CBD, it maybe becomes dozens of seizures a day, which is huge.
But I think they need the other one too.
Well, that's another question,
THC.
whether you need the TCP or not, THC or not. But there's no studies on adults who maybe have
Yeah.
3 seizures a month.
Right.
Does it help them?
Exactly.
And
There's a-
emotionally, it's really wonderful too, if you're
Yes, it
really
is.
It is.
upset and you smoke a little and it brings you down, and then you can look at this problem in a different
That's
way.
not a small thing.
That's a
I
huge
No,
thing.
that's a big
huge
thing. Yes,
Yeah, that's,
yes.
yeah, that's not a small thing, and,
Yes.
you know, the mood prescription meds that are just out of control in this country.
Yeah.
That's
I had
To your point, I have a lot of friends and family who are like skittish about this whole thing, and then I give them something to try, and it may have some THC in it, and it's just a mild mood elevator,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, you know,
Yeah.
older family members who are just low-level depression,
right.
and
I
they,
had
and they
a
don't wanna
mean
take meds, and
husband.
they take these things, and it's like, wow, I feel great, I
Yeah.
haven't felt like this.
And then combine that with active meditation, and you're off to
Yes.
the races.
Yeah.
I know.
One last study I want to talk about, which was interesting, and we talk about different areas of effect. You brought this question up. They did a study out of the UK, and they were looking at stroke, the mortality of stroke, and it turned out that one of the most powerful predictors of stroke mortality or not is if the victim was a regular marijuana user.
Huh.
And if they smoked pot on a regular basis, their risk of mortality from stroke was greatly reduced. I mean, this is very likely a universally health enhancing.
Yeah, but is this
Plant.
marijuana that was illegal that people have been using
Yes,
forever
these just-
garbage maybe or polluted?
Who knows?
Yeah, you know.
And
maybe
given
this-
that,
Yeah.
that makes that even more
Yeah,
impressive,
oh,
you know, because
Yeah.
when we all grew up, you know, it was awful.
Yeah.
I have one last story for you. I had a mean husband, and whenever we heard the back gate click, everybody in the house was like,
Yeah.
what's it gonna be like today?
Right.
I always had a joint ready. He walked in the door, I handed him a lit joint. It saved our lives
Yeah.
many times.
Right.
So it is a wonderful thing to have around. And all those people that take their mood enhancers and antidepressants, smoke a joint for heaven's sake.
It's a really good drug.
It
It's a
won't
good drug.
make you wanna
Yeah.
kill yourself.
Right.
Right.
And you won't wanna kill anybody else either.
No, be too funny.
Yeah.
Can't underestimate that either, right? Don't
Are
want
you
to
gonna
kill
have
somebody
another one
else.
of these?
Yeah.
What's that?
Are you gonna have another conference in the future?
Yeah, once we know what we're actually talking about. Yes, yeah, we're gonna do these. The daytime seems to work better than the night, I guess, right? But, so, concluding thoughts, I mean, I wasn't joking, we kind of don't know what we're doing here yet. There seems to be a lot of potential. I'm comfortable with experimenting personally and, you know, cooperating with my patients a little bit, because we do, I think, have enough science to know that it's pretty fucking safe. You know, you can't overdose. There's never been a single overdose of cannabis in the history of mankind. You can't do it, right? Children and marijuana, different story, developing
Yes.
brains, we've talked, you know, there's issues there that need to be considered, but that's not the scene. I mean, we're all adults, so.
How fun now that my grandson is of legal
Of age.
age, he and I can share.
What a world. I never smoked pot with my grandmother, guaranteed. It was evil, you know? It's just amazing what litigation and social,
Yeah,
The biggest problem I see now, Steve, is the lack of science.
yeah,
It's only just beginning, and, you know, it's a fantastic drug.